This podcast is brought to you by Build the Bench. Great leaders aren't born, they're built. Build the Bench is a fast track to leadership where you'll learn the fundamentals from some of the best in the country. Develop the mindset, skill set, and confidence to lead your teams and drive growth. Because leadership isn't a title, it's a choice to grow. Build the Bench. Welcome back to another episode of LA Legends, the podcast where Aflac pros sharpen skills, share success stories, and build the next generation of leaders in the LA South market. I'm Michael Fisher.
And I'm Michelle Lee. And today's we are diving into the most powerful factor in any organization, culture. Not the buzzword, the real culture that drives behavior, consistency, and success.
I'm very excited because we have one of my personal mentors, the market director I look up to the most in the company, and the rival of LA South, which is exciting to have. We have Mr. Alex Miro, market director of Texas North. Back when I was working in the corporate world, I was visiting family in St. Louis. I heard about this like RSC that was just like breaking records, shattering things, and like just like they're like, this guy's going to be the next like huge market director. And I texted you and I was like, hey man, do you want to like go to a Louis C.K. show? And then also, can I just like check out your region for a while? And my God, that was a pretty incredible experience for me because it made me want to become a really successful region and see a path there. But let's go back a little bit. Can you take me to how did you set up that like culture as a RSC? Did it start before then? Because you guys were absolutely crushing it. And right when I walked into your regional office, I felt that something was different.
Going back down memory lane, I've had the privilege of taking over a lot of organizations. I think the basis of culture starts with relationship. And I always looked at myself as having leadership potential, whether it was, prior to AFLAC, through sports, through fraternity or whatever the case is. So kind of knew what the importance of kind of having a overall vision and a really kind of team mantra, and everyone buys in. Obviously, we can do so much more as an organized unit than we could acting so independently. One of the first things you've got to do, I think, in leadership is you got to win hearts before you win minds, and building a basis of relationship with everyone from veteran associates that have been there 20 years to district sales coordinators that have, different perspectives, different kind of backgrounds. Some of them were trained, some of them were not, right? Whatever angst they may have, but really just getting to know who they are first before we obviously discuss anything that comes to business, and using Aflac as a vehicle to get towards their goals, right? The personal side of business is the personal side of just the relationships is where the foundation has been built. But with that, we created something pretty special in St. Louis. It really came, like I said, together because we did create alignment through systems and took over a team at the time where lots of change was happening. Even though St. Louis was inside of the same market, these were all competitors at the district level that I'm now leading. I've never been one to really worry about age or experience. I think if you provide value, right, that's the biggest buy-in. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I look at my role is how can I take people to the next tax bracket? If people really truly know you are sincere in those efforts, and you help that out in different ways, right? For a leader, managing leader, I'm here to identify your blind spots. And when you're winning, you'll never have a bigger cheerleader. When you're losing, I'm just the first person to have a candid conversation with you, and it doesn't have to be negative, right? And setting expectations, right? Once you've really, like I said, built a relationship, is if expectations are set up front, no one is disappointed when the conversation happens. I think a culture is created based on really value that is being provided, and then keeping this fun, right? Keeping this, like I said, a little lighthearted.
When I walked into your office, I was like, oh, this is a different place. One of the things that I thought was really cool that you guys did, we were talking about ingenuity and like things that you actually did that would like look different. But one exercise that we stole was that you had like four different offices or four different district offices. And then you would do like that, like canvassing in-person approach exercise where each district office, you made it into a separate business. And that's how you guys ended up like doing like your role play of your canvassing approaches. And we actually stole that and we had that in sales school. What are some of the other things that maybe that you did early on that like kind of like helped tilt the culture?
One thing that is unspoken is really kind of the atmosphere I wanted to create. To be honest, my overall vision, St. Louis, I moved to St. Louis literally when the Michael Brown incident happened, right? So people were fearful of going downtown, right? There was a lot of tension within the city, and there hadn't been actually an organization in downtown St. Louis for over 10 years, 15 years, right? And because, you know, it's scary down there. There was crime. I was like, my goal is to put an office downtown St. Louis and kind of change like mindset, because this is a thriving city. It's a working person city, right? In the early 1900s, St. Louis had 27 Fortune 500 companies. Today, there's 3. St. Louis is a city that no one lives downtown. You drive into work, you leave, right? And kind of wanted to change that, and also knew it was pretty underpenetrated down there because of just the culture of the city. We had a kind of like an industrial, I like to call it industrial chic look, right? So,
Yeah.
you had exposed brick, you had like kind of copper piping, I had barn doors, and it was all really the kind of the background to set up what we were hopefully at the time looking to achieve. First thing I did, I asked all veterans, if you've got your awards collecting dust at an office in your house, bring him to the office. We created a fireballer wall. So as you know, the fireball plaque, anytime anyone in the organization achieved fireball, their plaque went on the fireballer wall. This started with 3 fireball plaques. We had to use a new wall by the time we left, right? And it was just a sense of pride. I've always been big about Power Weeks, creating that culture, right? We are procrastinators at heart. So most of the things get done in the last 6 weeks anyway. So why would I remove what is ingrained in people within Aflac? So double down on Power Weeks. And I literally bought a $200 trophy. The first quarter I ever was a region. Looked beautiful. Put a big mount on the bottom and space for the next 4 years for whoever was the associate that won Power Weeks within the region. That $200 investment probably was made, 100x, right?
Yeah.
There was literally, I could throw any cash contest, but nothing motivated more people than to get their name on our Power Weeks wall, their name etched on that trophy. And as soon as you got your name etched on that trophy, you got a picture of yourself on the wall of fame, right? Little things like those. I had bios of my district organization all across the office. We would do collage pictures every year of all the fun we'd had, right? We go on social media from people on the team, make a big collage, whatever the vision was that particular year. Like all those things really created this family environment that started to create a machine that started to take care of itself to some degree. Because
Yeah.
by that final year, Mike, we were getting to the point where we're bringing in 20 people, right? 18, 17 were quality, 10 of them would be nominations. And that culture started to create. But all of that was kind of like easy little things. I think the tone was set just because of how we structured our work week. It was always kicked off by me leading a regional meeting, and it didn't matter rain, snow, whatever, that meeting was going to be held in person, no virtual. That didn't exist at the time. Right? Always been a big believer that if you can drive activity, right, whatever role you're in, and continue to, sharpen people's saw in that aspect, you get people excited about making cold calls. They're going to do more, and we're going to set more appointments, and we're going to close more deals. Right. But always tried to be very kind of strategic within that matter. But, I think a big reason we were able to help create what we did in such a small amount of time was setting the tone as an RSC Monday morning. Right. We'd have breakout districts. Everyone knew when onboarding was. The districts knew exactly how many hours in the field they needed to spend in order to create a fireball factory. Took some of the whirlwind off their plate by managing veterans. We just kind of, by creating relationship, which became respect, which then became friendship, we're all on the same page and put a systematic approach to a business. I always say this to my team. There's 2 aspects to Aflac. There's art and there's science. We got a lot of Picassos at Aflac. We don't have too many Einsteins. If I could have assist in that degree, all I ever try to do is look through making decisions through the eyes of the level 30. The team with the best level 30 wins. But in reality, the training aspect of this business that I really fell in love with at the district role is something that I will never not do. Right. So, and that's, conversations we've very much had in business planning as of late. I'm leading a sales organization, so I'm involved in every aspect of the business. And if we can get a bit more technical and a bit more in the weeds, that's something that, may go against what people believe. But like, I think you've got to consistently stay in the weeds so that you can truly be a resource, yet play the game from above the actual grounds, right? So that you can anticipate moves, not, 2-3 weeks from now, 2-3 quarters from now.
Yeah, from a leadership perspective, it's you have to be able to really zoom in and like actually know because again, also people know really quickly if you've been in the field or know this business at all very quickly, or if you've been kind of just disconnected. You also just said like three other things that I just want to like you said them just like, oh yeah, this is like, but I think people underestimate, especially regions or districts if they have their office of like the actual like aesthetics and having like that the fireballer wall. I mean, that is awesome. I actually remember that. And I remember that it was like a second wall that you had to take over. And that was so cool. The tone that you set inside of that office every single Monday, people, it's like going to the gym. They just clock in, check in, and they knew exactly what they were doing and why they were there. So that's freaking amazing.
Every hero needs a sidekick. The site seller is yours, helping you ask the right questions, show the right numbers, and land the right solutions. Navigate conversations like a pro and turn every business owner into a believer. Just a lot of takeaways, like our previous guests. Like I just continue to take notes and talking about that trophy, Alex, Michael had a bowling pin he used to do when he was my region. He probably stole a bunch of your stuff and then brought it in when he came my region, so level 30. But a
Totally.
beat a
Hey,
bowling
that's what we
pin,
do. Hey,
Yeah.
$80,
the
right?
Bowling.
all my ideas were stolen from someone else and just try to make them a little bit better anyway, right? That's
Yeah.
that's my level of ingenuity.
And I do the same thing today as a trainer. But one of the things that I've noticed teams that maybe forget to do is having the accolades displayed throughout the regional office, throughout your district team. That transparency of where you're trying to go, the awards you're trying to hit, and so forth, and celebrating the winners, like John Oliver, and I know you've seen the numbers too. Like one of the reasons why he's winning so well is the accountability piece, but it's full transparency from the process that you're trying to make or follow through with, and then hitting those accolades and celebrating those wins. He's got a champions wall in the regional team that he's with, and everybody knows that's Champions Corner. So I appreciate you sharing
Awesome.
that. So I want to talk through because you've moved around, you've taken over multiple organizations as you've already said, especially even at the market director level. So what are some of the key things that that you prioritize when you step into a brand new environment? Because it's also different geographically at the same time, right?
It's all been different in different kind of, backgrounds. At the end of the day, people are somewhat the same, right? Especially, like I said, within this organization, because we all have obviously some similarities because we're doing a role where you have to take risks, right? Where you've probably gone through adversity to be able to be who you are today, right? It goes a long way. I was in Marshall, Missouri with holes in my shoes in the snow, making cold calls with, $11 to my name, thinking, what am I doing? Right. And I'm here to share the story. But outside of, really getting to know your team, I think it really does create speed to changing behavior and creating the expectation environments you want by ensuring you are extremely communicative of where you see this team going. When we went to San Diego, it was really about creating a fame culture, taking some of my Midwest values, applying them potentially in the West where they may be better at broker large account, but bringing the fundamentals to that organization was really my main task. And I think when the team saw that you are willing to do everything that you're asking folks to do and then some, and also help them build them, whether it is through acumen, whether it is through love, whether it is through some positive accountability. Like I like to position myself pretty quickly as like, I'm a part of the team. I'm not this corporate stooge, sitting at his office, spinning on his computer desk, like clicking pended. Like, I'm in the field with you,
Mhm.
and really kind of sharing what I see as far as like the opportunity. So having a concrete vision, not just here's where we're going, this is how we actually get there. And with that, no shortage of ideas, but also through maturity within leadership, I know too many good ideas is as good as none.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I've been there, done it. And what I thought was winning on early days, and I think it's a great example when I moved from San Diego to DFW, which the game is the same, but the speed of the game changed drastically from going from a 12, $14 million operation to a $30 million. More people, more problems, more wins. Just the speed of the game changed drastically. I was kidding myself thinking all these great ideas were like why we're winning. And I just think it was just enthusiasm and try to make it fun. Oftentimes, to be the best leader, you've got to have all these ideas. When ultimately, at the end of the day, it's so cliche. No one cares how much you know. They want to know how much you care, especially
Yeah.
as you become more tenured within this role. I would say, just like launching where we're going to go, how we're going to get there. These are the expectations. I also think it's pretty important to create some sort of a standard because people are going to perform to the expectation set. And if the bar is low, people are going to go to the bar. If the bar is high, organically, people will push to that level. But then from there, how do you get your message down to truly the O1 level? And that is being in your regional offices at the Monday morning meetings. And if it is, takes a roadshow because it is so different geographic, right? Rural, metro, the people involved, how they do business. So you've got to be quite adaptable because it is no one size fits all. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I think it pays quite a lot to be the most excited person in the room. Learned that a long time ago. But you have a game plan, you have a simple way of addressing an issue by putting more pressure on a system rather than people, and then trying to leverage your influence to be able to get people to buy in doesn't happen overnight. And you've got to have the patience to then truly stay committed to what you're doing before it even works. That's one of the hardest things to do, I think. When you're essentially taking over new team, different characteristics, they don't know you. You weren't a part of this market. You got to be brave enough to make those decisions, but also see them through and be consistent. And I think that's one thing that has lacked from most feedback I get is some level of consistency. Too many flavors of the month. We're changing the game plan. We set sail with an initiative and we never saw it out before it actually worked.
The fundamentals and process is where we believe so heavily in structure and like putting pressure to that system that we have and then actually like letting it run through. We
Yeah,
might make minor tweaks, but they're minor enough where it doesn't change what we're trying to actually accomplish. We're actually improving it in some capacity along the way because you're learning from what you did the previous quarter and so forth. So
absolutely.
on the
And
same
seeing it
page.
through, right? Because behavior does not change overnight. And, I think this was somewhat said at a recent meeting we were at, but you go from a district, you're driving a speedboat. You essentially, even on rocky waters, you can kind of turn and get out of there pretty quick. And that's potentially you getting involved because you've got direct influence on the actual sale that is going to determine. You start running a region. You've got to then learn how to be a leader of leaders and use influence more than actual application and be a technician. Now you're driving a yacht. So harder to turn, but it's going a little faster. And then the market, you're driving a cruise ship. And it takes quite a while to make that turn. You've got to be brave enough to be able to foresee kind of a couple quarters down the line that I'm not personally going to give in on that. I know this will work, right? And when you see that payoff, that's a pretty incredible, fulfilling part of the experience of this role that we get to be a leader of people, of a voluntary army.
Everything that you do install, it's not based on like go, or it's actually just based on like facts.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the
There-
science part of it, which has been awesome. The other one that is pretty interesting. So it was probably 2015, 2016 that I was like, hey, Alex, can you send me like your RSE deck? Because, I'm moving into the regional role. And, fast forward 8 years, I'm like, hey, can you send me your market director one? And then I was also weirdly looking at some old notes from when you were interviewing to be a market director. And I was looking, I was like, oh my God, it's the same all three times.
Yeah.
That's when you know it's good. Like that's like like that's when you know it's awesome. And that if we get that right, even as a company, Like, the stuff in 2014, 2015, that stuff is gold right now, with all the stuff that we have at our backs to make our lives a little bit easier.
And I would share just with like coordinators, like you should look at this that like one day you're running a market, right? And if that is truly your goal, and if it's not your goal, if you're in leadership, you should make it your goal because it's totally possible. And I always looked at it like half of the best ideas I have today were fundamental things that I created as a district or put in place and now just revamping it to align with the modern times. So I would just highly encourage people like always kind of operate at the level above you. And if you have aspirations of being a region, I'm not saying like go buy Indeed today, but put together a Monday morning meeting that would be suitable that if you were the regional sales coordinator. Start treating your CITs like district sales coordinators so that you can truly expand your distribution and write your own ticket organically with whatever you're in. But to be honest, the Texas North onboarding we do today was a document that was written in Chris Ashton's office back in 2011 when I was a new district trying to figure out like how do I actually apply the science and like sense of this to me so that I can train. So a lot of the things that have been successful are successful because they were built organically when I was at that actual level. Being a old, rusty veteran now, being an 8-year market director, right, and don't know how to turn on Everwell, but
Yeah.
where most of this came from. So like, don't look at it and wait for Aflac to come up with a way for you to train your people. Put a system in place that aligns with what the market is doing, but that is your own, that you feel that is your own intellectual property that you feel passionate about. One thing I've learned is I can come up with everything, but if my team doesn't buy in and they don't feel that they have a say in it or it's their idea, they're not going to use it. Just encourage people, don't wait on your region, don't wait on your market. If you feel like you've got a way to do something, I feel like that ingenuity is the creation of where so many really successful people get to the top and they stay at the top.
It's crazy. It's till this year that I've actually seen it again, where I was last 10 years or so, I've been like, oh yeah, I haven't like seen that same ingenuity of people being like, hey, I'm gonna take this to heart, and I'm gonna like actually prove out a proof of concept, by the way. Not every year we have people that are like, oh, I have these brilliant ideas, but then they won't like actually do the proof of concept,
Yeah.
and then be successful at it. This has been the year that I'm starting to see that again, just culturally inside of Aflac, where like I remember being the guy in the room that would like say the things and people being like, oh yeah, actually that kind of makes sense. And now it's like seeing some of these younger people, some of them aren't even younger, but they're just like newer in the business that are kind of just starting to push the envelope again. It's a really fun moment right now. And I hope that we are just like, I hope Aflac in general, we just get that more and more. But it's like it proved it out as well. That's the most important thing. It's like it made you a very successful associate. It made you a very successful DSC because it's transferable, region, market, all of that stuff. And it's been cool to watch.
Yeah, and I think that's a duty leaders like ourselves have is to truly help promote the next generation of leaders because we all had those individuals that we aspire to be. And if I look back at the people that most influenced my career, so many of them had that characteristic. They had that competency. They had that creativity. They were so confident on where they were heading and they could draw people in, right? And I love to hear that because I do believe as well, we still have a manpower issue, but really what we still have where we've got to be patient is we're culturally taught a brand new set of leaders that are not been doing this for 10 years at the district role. They've been doing it for 2 to 3. And a lot of their experiences post COVID or inside of COVID, right? And if we can get back, because I know one thing I personally know that every leader that I aspired to be, they truly were a student of leadership, right? And they always were trying to push themselves to be better. If we can organically get back to that as a company through this newer in not like age, but in tenure, right? If they could culturally, like I said, adopt that and be passionate about being better outside of just Aflac, but growing your mindset, your leadership abilities, like that's going to be the defining factor of where we are in 20 years, in my opinion. Because
Great.
that's culturally what I loved about Aflac. Like this is just a leadership and training company that just so happens to sell insurance.
Exactly. Yeah. And there's a scoreboard to it, and that makes it even more fun.
That's
That's what got me. So I wanted to ask this one kind of starting to land the plane a little bit here. So if a leader is going to rebuild that culture from scratch, where would you recommend some of these either future leaders, newer leaders, or maybe somebody that's like, you know what, I'm done. Alex is right. I need to change the direction of my either speedboat or yacht.
You know what I would do? Because this is what I did. When I came to DFW, right, it was harder. There's more people, more geography. I couldn't get to everyone and give them that time I really normally would have as a region, because from the person that wrote $5 to the highest producer, like gave everyone that same kind of opportunity. Impossible when you have 300 associates, 50 districts, 9 regions. Like you're never going to, in this a finite amount of time, be able to truly give yourself to them, right? So it's about leadership. And when I came to DFW, one thing I saw was so much talent, but they were all kind of disjointed and not necessarily bought into what they were doing, maybe because they'd done it too long, they were burned out, or whatever the case may be. But man, this was probably more impactful than anything I've ever done. I was like, all right, we just need to get back to the principles of leadership. And so actually what I did, I started a thing called Leadership Saturday. And what it was a Saturday once a month. I said, I'm going to be at the market office. We're going to get better as leaders. I'm going to invest my weekend. Whoever wants to come, please show up. To my surprise, 76 people showed up on the first Saturday, and it was incredible. And that really was more powerful than any, intro on stage or flowery email I sent out to the team, because, oh, wow, look at the people that want to get better, that are doing this, right? So came in on a Saturday. It kind of like, let me remind you of what this opportunity we all have. There was agents in the room, to districts, to regions, right? So just kind of made it a bit of a career opportunity, but not really, like just being honest, and kind of
No,
really,
you didn't ruin it. You made it like a actual cool thing. Yeah, like you didn't
yeah.
like it was actually cool.
Yes, it was very organic. It was raw, right? And I just was like, who's content with where they're at? And everyone wanted more. There was 2 conversations had at a veteran level, like, hey, whose renewals are actually just plateaued or kind of dying? Are you not concerned about that? Yeah. If I have some ideas on how to change that, would you invest in coming? Yeah. All right, great. At the leadership level, same thing. Who's sick of, turning your wheels and feeling like you're putting in all this time and you're still in the same place you were last year? Really just had an honest conversation with yourself and set up this leadership program where we would run it for 6 months at a time. Every week, everyone was expected. We did 2 books. We did the E-Myth for the first 6 months, because I wanted the coordinators to get away from technician mindset to more of entrepreneurial mindset. And instead of working in your business, work on, right? And a little bit of both, maybe. We did 6 months of that. And then we transitioned to the Maxwell's 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. What was just so incredible and profound was just what had changed, with no technical AFLAC training inside of those sessions, but it really was more of changing potentially mindset through educating yourself within leadership on how you're seeing yourself, how you're operating within your role. If you are starting over, right, or you're not where you need to be, like, how can you level set and get your team bought into trying to be the best leader possible for themselves, for their family? Once you have that sort of earnest connection with your folks, your influence grows to where now you can start to talk about specific AFLAC related things in the mindset of leadership. That's what I'd recommend.
It's so awesome that you just said that. It brought me back to 2 things. One, first off, that we forget that Saturdays actually exist. It took me back to one of both of our mentors, all of ours. It was Adam Michaels. But I was like talking about build a bench. Alex was talking about his build a bench, and then like we both pulled up PowerPoint. It's like that core foundational thing.
You're so right. This business is so forgiving. It really is. Like, you could have had the worst year. You could have everything bad happen to you. You could have self-pity party. If you make a conscious decision to change and literally get excited about the change, you can do it at any day of the week. You don't even need to wait till the 1st of January. But then you've got to have the wind in your sails, because that's contagious to everybody else. You can restart and reinvent yourself tomorrow at AFLAC if you make that decision. You really can.
Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah. And it's not as big of a lift as people sometimes think.
Looking Looking to level up your sales game? The Sales Marketplace has what you need to sharpen your skills, boost your numbers, and keep your momentum. Check out the Sales Marketplace for those resources and tools. You might have said some of this throughout the podcast, but what is one book that you have gifted the most that hasn't been E-Myth? Because all three of us are firm believers of that book and we've all done it. So outside of E-Myth, the most gifted book.
How to Build the Master Agency
Oh, yeah.
by the Kindred brothers. So Aflac's compensation model was built off life insurance sales, right? And so this book is about like how to really start an agency from scratch through life sales. It is scarily like mirrors what we do. And if you are looking for something to give more finite, like technical advice, like a scoreboard, how to recruit, things of that nature, I think this book just aligns so well. I would personally read E-Myth and Irrefutable Laws of Leadership first to give you a broader concept of you as the leader and how you are the chasm that ignites productivity. And
It's such good nuts and bolts, meat and potatoes. Like it's just great. There's so many moments in that book. I actually can't wait to reread it. I totally forgot about it. What's one thing that you've spent $100 or less this year on that made a positive impact, either personally or professionally?
I'm the guy that comes in, would drink 4 espressos, not eat lunch. And so I've been extremely dehydrated for probably about 15 years. So I would say
Okay.
my Stanley right here, right? The under 100. I stay hydrated. This is keeping me drinking water. And I may sound like a housewife from Orange County. However, I love it and
Yeah.
don't care. And so I'm going to say my Stanley, Michael.
That's
my-
a great no. That's a great one. I was like, oh, he's gonna say like running because I know you've been like running and like
Yeah.
but Stanley mug, man.
Stanley, yeah, keep my water, right? The running shoes, I don't know if they were over or under 100, but now it's kind of getting colder in Texas, like doing cold plunges, those things, like getting my mind right to tackle the day, especially with the pressure of fourth quarter.
I feel like a lot of the stuff in my journey, I'm able to reflect with you, and then you're like, and then the meltdown that's right around the corner. You're like, I can help you through that, and it's great. I've always appreciated it, man.
Your mindset, the enemies of greatness all kind of come from within. And the better I can control my mental health and ingest as much positive things as possible, I'd say actually one of the most beneficial things I've actually done this year, didn't cost any money, is I just removed myself from social media. Not like I was on it all the time, but it's very liberating not knowing what's going on in the world.
Oh, great.
I'm in my own bubble. I've always been a kind of self-thinker, but oftentimes you don't even know over a period of time, just like what everyone else is doing, how much it consumes you and how little it matters. So that's been very fun.
Yeah, the one how little it matters and how you're not missing anything, that's the shocking one. After a couple months, you're like, oh my God, none of it matters.
No.
It's like making you absent from everybody else.
Guys, to everyone in advance whose birthday I missed, because that's the part that I feel bad about.
Yeah. Or like who wished you happy birthday and you didn't say anything back. That's
right.
yeah, you're big timing then. Alex, any final message, thoughts, or anything that you want to get out there as we're closing this?
The dream is alive and well. I'm more excited than I've been in years. A lot of your attitude is your altitude, right? I think there is leadership at Aflac that knows where they're heading in the future, right? We've got the opportunity to truly be the change we want to see in the world. And you can apply that to Aflac, right? And, right now, doing something like this, getting to work with people like you, Mikey, seeing folks that you've had the opportunity to be a passenger on their ride to the top, buy that new car, change their lifestyle, go on that dream vacation. Like that's what it's all about, is seeing people utilize this vehicle to directly positively impact their life, whether that's through helping others through this opportunity, whether that's expanding, their definition of success. I just see more and more people every day defining what success means to them through this vehicle. And it's super exciting. Everyone has the control of their destiny more than they ever had before. So don't just like wait for someone to tell you how to run your business. Like get in the weeds, learn the business drivers, get better connection with your people. Like think big, right? Don't get necessarily stuck in a mindset that because you're just in, Northern California or rural Arizona or, in East Texas, that you're limited, because the only thing that is truly limiting you from where you can go is truly yourself. So that's how I'd leave it. And I think right now there's a very unique opportunity in the benefits industry, which is voluntary benefits. There's a chance for people to grow real wealth, have a lot of fun, and break records over the next course of years because of what the company's doing to position us to be a better player in the marketplace, but also with the need of what we're doing, we haven't scratched the surface of where this industry will be in 20 years. And a lot of people can ride that second gold rush if you really put your, like I said, mind to it and put a plan in place that has systems that you can put pressure on instead of people, love on your people, and go create something great.
Hey, thank you so much, man. I literally could not agree more. I wouldn't be here without you. Your mentorship has been everything to me. And you've just been an awesome friend. So just thank you again, man. This is awesome.
Well, I want to thank you, Mikey, because you also have helped relight my internal pilot, right? Seeing you come in from what you've done in your organization to now getting getting the responsibility of having the helm, and you're thinking like a rookie, and it's really motivating myself, many others around, and what you guys are doing as a team, and the fun sibling rivalry we have between our organization.
Great.
It's really fun, and it's, like I said, going to happen for years to come. So thank you for pushing me to get better from what you guys are doing every day. Things like this are that's an example of that ingenuity that is coming back to Aflac. So
I
appreciate you
love that,
guys.
man.
If you guys have enjoyed today's conversation, make sure to subscribe to the LA Legend so you never miss an episode. Share it with your team. Help us continue spotlighting leaders who elevate the industry. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next episode of the LA Legends.